Hi, welcome back to my channel. In this video I wanted to change things up a bit because I was thinking maybe some of my videos are getting a bit boring because I'm always just recording inside. It's not really my fault because of obviously you know what. The UK is still in lockdown at the moment, so we can go out for walks and stuff, but then we can't really go out to town and most shops are shut, all non-essential shops are shut. So it is quite difficult to go out and do things. That's why all my videos on this channel have just been like indoor sit-down topic videos, not travel videos, because I would like to try and expand some of the content on this channel in the future, but that just hasn't been possible recently. I've moved the camera a bit because the lighting was getting a bit bad with the sun glaring into the camera. As I was saying, I'd like to expand some of the content on this channel. I'd love to do travel videos and those sorts of videos in the future, but that hasn't really been possible as long as I've had this channel. But at least I can go out for walks. So I thought I'd film outside in the British countryside. And while I'm out here, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about this country because a really high percentage of my viewers are from the Philippines. And one thing I know about Filipinos is that they're often looking to move abroad to get a better wage so they can send more money back to their families in the Philippines. And I would recommend moving to the UK. It's a really nice country to live in. I feel quite privileged to have grown up here, but it's not perfect. And if you're going to move to any different country, it's good to look at both sides, not just the positives. It's good to look at some of the realities before you'd, make such a big decision to move somewhere. Gusto kong sabihin sa'yo, mas gusto kong tumira sa Pilipinas kaysa sa UK. Kaya sa September lilipat ako sa Pilipinas. Sa katunayan, hindi permanent babalik ako sa UK. Pero at least mahaba ang stay ko sa Pilipinas. Sana, hindi sigurado pupunta ako sa Pilipinas sa September kasi sarado pa rin ang embahada. Kailangan ko ang visa para pumunta sa Pilipinas. Pero sana bukas ang embahada. Going back to this video topic, obviously the main reason why anyone, or most people at least, from developing countries would move to places like the UK would be for a higher wage so they can send money back to their families. But the thing is, this can be a bit counterproductive because even though the wage is higher, the expenses are higher as well. This is the same with basically any developed country, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in North America or Western Europe or Northern Europe. The expenses are just so high that if you don't own your own house and you're renting, most of your money will be spent on rent, and then the rest of your money will be spent on the rest of the expenses on either your car to get to work or the public transport to get to work, and then obviously food bills as well, to the point where you won't end up with that much money to send back to your families. So if that's the main reason why you'd want to move to the UK to send money back to your home country, then like I was saying, it's just a bit counterproductive if you're spending lots of your money on the expenses, or nearly all your money on expenses. One of the biggest issues with the UK is the prices of houses. I googled the average price and it's over £250,000 for just the average house in the entire UK, which is over 17 million pesos. And that's the entire UK, so that's including northern parts of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. In the south of England, it's way more expensive than that. To get an average size house or a decent sized house, you'll often need to pay way over £300,000 to £400,000, which is a lot of money, which is why so many people in the UK don't own their own house. And we kind of have a renting culture where people are stuck in this trap of paying all their bills on the rent, and then when they finally have enough money to buy their own house, quite often they'll be too old. If you're over 40 or 50, quite often you can't get a mortgage because you're too old. The people, selling the houses won't give you a mortgage because they'll think that you're too old. So you end up spending your entire life saving up, and then by the time you can afford a house, you can't. Obviously, if you have a high-paying job in the UK, you can definitely save up lots of money to send back to your home country. Like I was saying, with the expenses being so high, it can be difficult to save in the UK, even though the wage is so much higher than it would be in places like the Philippines and other developing countries. The next downside I want to talk about isn't as big as an issue as it's sometimes made out to be, but I thought it was worth mentioning it anyway, just because even if this is something that you experience once, it's still not a nice thing to go through, and that is racism. If I said that this didn't exist, I would just be in denial and I'd kind of be lying, because I know it is still a thing. And especially now with Asians, with what's happened in the last couple of years, hate crimes against Asians have gone up in Western countries. It's not that common. I know it's easy for me to say this as a white British person, but no, at least from what I know about things, it's not as common, and maybe the media can exaggerate about these things, but because it still exists, I thought it was worth mentioning anyway. But this shouldn't be any reason not to move here, but it's just worth being aware of that. Obviously this could happen to you, but hopefully it won't, or even if it did, it would just be the once, or it wouldn't be very common. One thing about British people as well is that quite often we're not that friendly, especially in the south of England. If you're Filipino as well, I think any country compared to the Philippines, people won't be as friendly. In the Philippines, you just need to turn up somewhere and you'll instantly make friends, whereas in the UK you have to go out of your way a bit more to make friends. But it's still not that hard to make friends, but it's just in general the majority of people aren't as friendly as they would be in the Philippines and some other countries as well. I think in Europe, where there's kind of like a stereotype that we're not as friendly as people from other countries and other continents. Most stereotypes aren't completely true, but then stereotypes do come from some truth. And in this case, it probably is slightly true, but then you can't generalise with everyone. But it's still something to be aware of. British people as well have quite a short temper, or quite short patience. We're not the most patient people in the world. I'd recommend, if you're not a competent driver, don't even think of driving on the roads in the UK, because if you pull out in front of someone, or if you drive too slowly, you might experience road rage, which isn't a nice thing to go through. And even with other things, quite often British people aren't as patient as some other nationalities. We're not that bad, but I thought it was worth mentioning anyway, just because it's something I know about British people. But again, don't let this put you off moving to the UK, because it's not that much of an issue. Another downside about living in the UK is the weather. Quite often, the weather isn't extreme in the UK, it's always mild. It's never ridiculously cold, it's never ridiculously hot. Most of the time it's just slightly cold, but then mild at the same time. But the main problem is that it's always quite cloudy, the sky is often grey, it's always, or usually, drizzling with rain, and it can just feel a bit depressing, the weather, which is why some people say that British people are quite depressed compared to other nationalities, which seems kind of true. The weather can change what people's moods are like, and in the case of the UK, with it often being grey, it can make us a bit miserable sometimes. In a way, the weather's not as bad as in some countries that have extreme, typhoons, and countries that are on the Pacific Ring of Fire that have volcano eruptions and floods and all sorts of things. So in that sense, the weather in this country isn't that bad, but then it's just the fact that it always seems to be the same. It always seems to be grey. It's quite rare to have a sunny day. Today is the one exception. It's quite sunny today, but usually, unless it's actually in the summer, it will always be cloudy with rain, drizzles of rain. If you're not used to that sort of weather, if you like hot weather, you probably won't like living in the UK. The last point I want to bring up is that it's kind of hard to move to the UK in the first place. There's some British people that complain that we have too many immigrants and that it's too easy to move to the UK, but actually if you're from outside of the EU or a country that's in the Commonwealth, which is countries that the UK used to colonise, it's quite hard to move here unless you're a nurse or have a certain, high trained, highly skilled job. If you've got a lower skilled job and you're from outside of one of the countries in the EU or Commonwealth, it's really difficult to move to the UK, or even just to visit on a visitor's visa. For Filipinos, it's really difficult just to visit the UK. If you're a nurse, that's the easiest way how you can come here. Most of the Filipinos in the UK are nurses because that's one job that's always readily available for foreign nationals. But if you're not trained in that field and you want to move to the UK, it might be a bit tricky with certain construction jobs, or if you're a teacher, to get a work visa it might be difficult. The next easiest way would be if you're married to a British national, and then that way you can move here and then get any job you want. But if you don't have a British spouse, or if you're not going to work for the NHS, it might be quite difficult to move to the UK. So those are all of the points I could think of, mainly on the top of my head. Hopefully this didn't completely put you off coming here. I just think if you're going to think about moving somewhere, it's good to look at both sides, to think through some of the negatives of moving somewhere as well as just the positives, especially things like the wage being high here, but then the expenses being so high. That could be something, if the main reason for you moving to another country is to save up money, with expenses being so high in the UK, it kind of can be a bit counterproductive. So with points like that, it's worth considering before you move here. But in general, I still recommend it. Pero like sinabi ko kanina, mas gusto kong tumira sa Pilipinas kahit na mahal ko ang UK. Mas gusto ko pa rin ang Pilipinas. Thank you very much for watching. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe, because there is a ridiculously high percentage of people watching this channel that aren't subscribed. So please subscribe if you haven't, so you won't miss out on any new uploads. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.